I know a little bit impromptu, but here we are for another roll reveal. This one will be a 2011 roll. 2011 sometimes can provide some really neat die varieties, so we're going to try this one out and see what happens. Generally don't do rolls this new, but once in a while, one just kind of sings my name, and I'm thinking, well, I've got to take care of that. So here it is, 2011 Philadelphia. Try to see where this goes. We could find some small stuff, some big stuff, some good stuff. There's all kinds of things in 2011 to be looking for. So maybe, just maybe, we'll have the lucky roll here. There we go. Getting it open without having to tear it up and without damaging any of the coins or anything to that effect. Use my little blue roll opening tool here that I found that had been for a different purpose. Hello Marshall, hello Malcolm. Surprise, here we are. Alright, there's Mr. Crescent. I got all 50 coins opened up here, and just like I would expect, they are all pretty nice coins. So let's dig in and see what we get. Taco John, first coin. Taco John with the first coin, and this one was on the end of the roll, so can't expect a whole lot with the one on the end of the roll. And no double die obverse. This could be a really quick roll because we're going to check it out for anything good. If there's nothing good, we're just going to keep rolling. There have been a number of people in recent times looking in very, very small places near the center of the reverse for just little tiny signs of doubling and calling those double dies. While they may technically be double dies, they're not something I'm going to list. They're just not good enough to warrant anything as far as I'm concerned. Hello Angie. North American Ways is the next one up. And here we go once again. Native American Ways, I'm sorry. Native American Ways, not North American Ways. And this one is normal as well on the obverse. Let's check the reverse real quick. And I'll just keep going through these. I won't mention anything about them being normal or anything until I actually find something. Our chances are probably about 75-80% that we're going to go through the roll and not find anything, but you always have to give it that shot. Can't find any of the good stuff without looking. Rockzilla up next. Looks like we got some spots in these rolls. That's not good. That's bits of stained coins. I'm just hoping for anything other than normal coins. Something that's a die variety. I am going to take a little break between this one and the next one. The next one's going to be a 1949S. Just trying to get a little audience built up this evening to follow me through to the next. I'm going to try to do one more reveal this evening. I was having kind of a bad day today. A little bit on the trippy side. Not doing the best earlier, but now I'm doing fine. I feel good. Ready to go. I got my coffee in hand, ready to work. This one's for Eric. Number 5 now. Yo man, these coins are just a little slippery because they're so buff shiny. And most of what we'd be looking for on this era of Lincoln Cent would be perhaps the possibility of doubled ears, but then on the reverse, or thickness in the date, thickness in Liberty. And then on the reverse, there are very few known examples that really show much of any doubling, and United States of America. Most of them are going to show a little bit of doubling at the initials in the lower part of the reverse, if that's going to be the case. Now number 6, penny hoarder. And let's see what penny hoarder has here. Nothing on the date. I say it's kind of quick going through 2011. Not generally going to find anything. If we do, well, what we do find is going to be rather obvious. That's all I'm saying. Because without it being rather obvious, it's not going to be worth pulling. Here's number 7 for Stanley. And nothing on the obverse there. Yeah, sometimes I just get to where my body is not working well, and that keeps my brain from ticking right, and it makes me very, very sleepy and kind of ill feeling. And that's where I was earlier today. I ended up taking about a half-hour long nap, and then I took the dog out for a walk, and then we went out for dinner and then for another walk, and that seemed to help me quite a bit. So tomorrow morning I will begin wrapping packages with all these reveals, and not reveals, but all these proof pulls that we've been doing. That's why I haven't sent any mail this week. Many of the people are involved in one pull or the other, and I wanted to be sure to get the results of those in your packages. So all of the coins from Sunday, rolls from Tuesday, and the 2 proof pulls will be headed toward you on Monday morning. Then the contents of tomorrow's auction will be going Wednesday with Tuesday's auction. Here's one for Eric. Got that big die crack on the forehead. Pretty sure we've seen that one at least once or twice before. That doubling on the inside of the O in 1, that is machine doubling. Not at all hub doubling. Which hub doubling is the action that creates double dies. So if somebody tells you that hub doubling and double dies are different, well, it is true. Hub doubling is the action that causes double dies. Hub doubling and machine doubling are definitely not the same. There's no correlation between those. Trying to get us a little better lighting here. There we go. That will work better for these really shiny coins. You have to kind of get right on top of the features to be able to get them to show proper shadowing, so that you can determine if they're double dies or not. Let me brighten things up just a little bit here. There we go. And Carl now. Angie, are you on Facebook? I looked for you to try to request to be friends, and I could not find you, either under Angie or under your postal name. And I was wanting to connect, but I could not find you. hopefully if you're on Facebook, this goes for any of you. If you're on Facebook and you want to connect to me, you're more than welcome to. Search me out. I'm Chuck Daughtrey on Facebook. I'm hiding under my plain name. I'm also the one who posts a lot in some of the different groups. You'll find me. My Facebook picture is the Steelers logo right now, so it shouldn't be hard to find me if you know what the Pittsburgh Steelers logo looks like. So far it looks like we have a no-go roll, not a good roll. Hello, Stephen. All right, let's start picking up some markers so we can start skipping some stuff. This one's got a trench. You can see that trench running between the 0 and the first 1 of the date. That is a trench cut into the hub. So it comes out raised on the die, and then it comes out a trench again when you mint the coins. You're taking a positive to a negative to a positive. And so we know that one shows us nothing special. So we keep moving. Malcolm. Malcolm up next. What does Malcolm get? Okay, this one also shows us nothing, but we have to find a marker. It's a die scratch between the 2 and the first 0. North-south die scratch there between the 2 and the first 0, and there is a rather sizable die crack on the forehead and in the hair. And this one also is not a double die. I think we're starting to come down to where we're going to keep running into the same dies over and over again. Realize that there either is or is not anything in the roll. Hello, Mr. Roger. Penny Hoarder up next. Got ourselves a little bit of a spotty roll going on here. I don't really like this, but it's what we have. This one doesn't appear to really have any markers, and it also doesn't have any doubling. The only marker I can find appears to be a die dot below and between the 0 and the first 1. Thank you, Angie. Let's see here. Keep looking around here and see if I can find anything else. And well, this one is normal. That goes to Mr. Penny Hoarder. Now number 16. Rugzilla. Well, no similar markers again. So the idea of using markers is a great idea when you have a series that they typically use the dies long enough to create decent markers. These look rather questionable as to whether they use them long enough to actually create markers. This one looks to have a die scratch next to the 2. Out in the field between the 2 and the vest is what that looks like. Check the other side here. And no doubling here. Now number 17 for Paul Hampton. And Paul Hampton gets it looks normal. Here's a normal obverse. Just check the reverse on this one real quick. Looking for elongation in the lettering toward the outside edge. We're looking for anything that looks like significant doubling during the near the center of the design. We're looking for doubling as extension of thickness on the designer's initials. The obverse, we're looking mostly for thick digits in the date. Distended hub doubling. This is another one of the ones with the mark between the 0 and the 1, below and between. So we've seen the reverse on this one already. Native American ways again. Nothing there. And nothing on the reverse. Up to number 20 now. Number 20 Rockzilla. Be doing the 1949 S roll. Will come up this evening after I'm finished with this one and have a little bit of time to break off and prep the 1949 S roll. Get the title changed on the screen. Get the flip inserts out and get those ready. And I will be back on with what could be a really nice 1949 S roll. This one was kind of an experiment to see if we could get lucky and get a really good double die. There's a number of nice double dies for 2011. That's why I picked this date. It looks like the coins are rather quick to spot up, though. On very circulated coppers, does the thickness mean double die? Usually not. Usually the thickness is because the letters, as they're minted into the coin, are actually beveled. So if I was to take most of this relief off of here, rather than looking about as thick as my hand cursor, you would be looking at from black area to black area going across, and it would look a lot thicker even though it's not. So because this is beveled, your top area is going to be a lot thinner than as you shave layers of it off going toward the field. Whereas when you get all the way down to the field over here, you're going to end up with something that looks a lot thicker than what you end up with on a regular strike. Okay, we've seen the reverse on this particular obverse die. Number 23, Stanley. If you imagine, this is how I generally talk about relief on coins, so that the coin will pop out of the die and fall out when the coin is minted. All of the design features on a coin are beveled. They're trapezoidal. Trapezoid is that shape of that base thing that an elephant would stand on at a circus. So it's a kind of a rounded thing. that has a much larger base than it does a top. And they're made to withstand strength, but they're also made on coins. They're made so that they can easily fall out of the die after the coin is minted. And when you start taking away the surface of a coin from its highest relief, it's like shaving down layers of that trapezoid from the top to the base. Every time you shave down another layer, the top of the trapezoid gets a little whiter until you get it all the way down to the level of the base. Roger, our process for actually registering is completely free, but it requires that you send an email to a different email address than my usual email address. It's at coppercoinspayments@gmail.com. coppercoinspayments@gmail.com. And what you can do, send an email, give me your real name, your YouTube screen name, and the email address that you use for PayPal, and I can get you registered right away. And you'd be registered to come back and purchase spots in these reveals or bid in the auctions, should you want to. And you never know when something might run that you really like and that you really want. And since it doesn't cost you anything to register with us and get on the list for notifications, might as well do it, right? 27 Rockzilla. Rockzilla, next coin up. And this one's a little upside down, but it's all good. I can tell that this is one that we've already seen before. There's the die crack on the forehead and one up in the hair. We've seen this obverse die before. So we are going to keep moving. We're past the middle of the roll now. What this usually means for me is my stopping point. If I get halfway through the roll and I don't see anything on an original roll, I generally stop. I just don't have the patience to sit through an entire roll generally if I'm not seeing anything in that first half. There's another example of that same die again. Crackheads. There you go. That's right. Number 29 now. We're cruising right along. We're getting a little quicker because we're getting closer to the end of the roll. It makes it... there's one with the die scratch between the 2 and the 0. We've seen this obverse die before. Different die crack in the hair and on the forehead. Now, die cracks, they generally form at the weakest point of a design. So, it is rather common that die cracks within an individual issue, like within the 2011 Lincoln Cents, would form in the same basic areas, because that design's going to be weak in the same area on all the different dies. So when you start getting cracks, your cracks are usually going to show up in basically the same spots. So that it has a die crack means nothing. That it has a die crack that's exactly the same shape, size, and in the same place means a lot. So don't get yourself confused thinking that anything that has a die crack on the forehead is going to be the same die. It's quite untrue. So this one has a very fine die crack that runs from the bridge of the nose right up to here. It's a very fine die crack, very small, very fine, very thin. But I'm sure around here there would be other markers that we could use to determine that we have seen this obverse before. Right, Roger, what we have, thank you, Angie. We have, where did my coin go? Here it is. Okay. Having a hard time finding my reverse here. There's a little die mark in the O of 1. That would be usable as a marker. There's usually something going on up here in the upper part of the shield. Usually die cracks or something happening. We have auctions every Sunday at 7 p.m. This is all Eastern time, so adjust accordingly for your time zone. Adjust accordingly for your time zone. 7 o'clock Eastern time. On Sunday, we have a copper coins auction, usually going to be singles and sets and other interesting small lots, die varieties, errors, things like that. And then on Tuesday, we usually do an extension of that and rolls or box lots or other larger groups of coins. And on Sunday and Tuesday, we do the singles pulls. We do the sales for the singles pulls. It's either a single coins, or you could get pretty much anything, or a penny proof or nickel proof pulls, where each payment you make would be for a poker chip that gets pulled out of the bag and gets married up to the next coin in the box. That's how that works. When do I think the U.S. Mint will stop coining cents? I have no clue. They've been talking about that since 1985, and it still hasn't happened. As far as I'm concerned, functionally, pennies are unnecessary. Well, functionally unnecessary, that doesn't make them less collectible in my mind. It just makes them functionally unnecessary for commerce. Of course, you do that, and you may as well get rid of them altogether. But that's part of the danger of bothering to collect our country's smallest denomination. In fact, they could easily get rid of them. There's one for Eric. It's coin number 35. 35 goes to Eric. Let's see what we have on coin number 35. It is... Now see, this particular die break or die crack has a little bulb right here, and it has another little bulb right down here. And then there's another crack up in the hair that goes up and curves around right up here, curves around up here, and then higher up we have a crack that goes from this spike of hair just above. You can see a little crack right there, but there's a spike of hair, and it comes all the way down around here. Then there is another die crack on the obverse that looks different. So this one has that die scratch between the 2 and the 0, 2 and the first 0 of the date, first only. Well, we don't know that they would actually be more collectible. If they got rid of them from commerce, it wouldn't necessarily make them more collectible. I guess to some people it might, but it's really difficult to tell exactly what would happen, because a lot of the countries that did get rid of their 1 cent coin or their lowest denomination coin, the people kind of celebrated it. And as far as I know, like in Canada and whatnot, the cent is no more or no less collectible than it used to be, because the more modern ones nobody cared about anyway. And they don't collect cents around the world like we do here in the United States. We're a little fanatic about them. You talk to people from Australia and people from Canada and the people from around Europe about the euro cent. They're just not. They're not as fanatical about them as we are here with our own cents. It sure does. Here's coin number 38 now, Stephen. A few spots on these coins. I mean, they're not real bad, but they're not good either. But since there's nothing on them, I mean, there's no die varieties here that I can see. No big foul for the for the looking. Entertainment value. That's what we're getting out of these. The entertainment value. I could sing songs for you, but I wouldn't want to make your dogs howl. Alright, and there's that die crack again, the one that has the little bulb, and then it has a little curve up there, plus the other die crack, so we know we've seen this particular die before. These particular spots, no. But at the same time, these particular spots are not something that people have really done a whole lot of study or playing around with. You're talking about the ultra-modern coins. And with the ultra-modern coins, typically the spots just don't make any difference. But see, these are, they're spots from the planchet wash is what they are. They're spots of soap, basically, that stayed on the coins and turned into dark spots on the coins after the coins dried. And they are not removable that I know of. And even if we could find something that would remove them, we would be spending a lot of time and effort to remove them off of generally inexpensive coins. Oh, that's interesting. A little gas bubble trail. This one's for Stanley. Now, number 42, Taco John. We will get to another roll here shortly. Our next roll this evening is going to be a 1949S. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show it to you now. After the end of these coins, we're almost finished here. I'll show it to you now, and then I will work on getting it partially open between shows, because this one could be a bear to get open. And I just want people to see that it is still sealed, that I have not opened it, I have not examined the contents of the roll, but once I get the next show started, I want it to be open enough that I can dig straight into it and not have to spend a lot of time and effort on it. So you can be my backup when I show it to you, and then I'll have it partially open by the time we actually get to the next show, so that it will be easier to get it the rest of the way open and get the coins out of them. I'm not really sure, Angie. They don't use Canadian money in the Bahamas. They use money from the Bahamas. Not really sure what you're asking. Steven coming up next here. Steven's got coin number 45. Means after this I got a total of 5 coins left in the roll. And we have found nothing in this roll. That's kind of interesting. A little ghost shadow going toward the rim there on the JFM. That's just dieware, but it does look kind of interesting. You think 2024 will be the last year if we keep inflation? Well, there will be no question we'll keep inflation as long as the current political body is in charge of the country. No question, inflation will continue. That's not in denial or in support of anything, it's just a fact. While we have a governmental body that believes getting rid of fossil fuel and going to electric is something that can be done over a few years' time, that hasn't been done in the 40 years past since it was basically invented or developed to a point where it would be commercially possible to do it. And they refused to drill more oil, and they refused to open up strategic reserves where it could be. They refused to help try to drive prices down. And fuel really is one of the mainstays of our reason for having inflation or not having inflation, because the price of fuel drives so many other things. So here's number 49 for Native American ways. We'll take a look at 49 and 50, and then I'll show you this 1949 S roll that I'll be opening up in the next show. And then between shows, I'm going to bust the end of it so that we can get it open more easily during the show. But I want to show you that it started out today's life as a solid wrapped roll from who knows how many years ago it was wrapped and sealed shut. But it is presently still sealed shut. Okay, that's coin number 50. We got nothing, worth nothing, out of this roll. Unfortunate, but sometimes that is how it works. And there's that. Here is the 1949 S roll. It is still wrapped and completely sealed shut on all ends. And this tape is brittle. Just basically falls apart as soon as you peel on it. So you can't, there's no way you can fake getting this open and then close it back up so that it will be, so it will look original. So maybe I won't have to do anything with it because it looks like it's going to peel apart rather easily. I thought maybe it would be a bear to get open. But okay, so the next one will be this 1949 S roll. We will be back in probably 15 minutes at it'll be 9:15 Eastern Time. 9:15 Eastern Time. We'll open this 1949 S roll and see what's there. I'll be right back.